Thanks for tuning in to Howe's Things, a podcast and radio show from the David A. Howe Public Library, recorded right here in Wellsville, New York. I'm Nick Gunning. My special guest today is the valedictorian of the 2021 Wellsville class. She's been a longtime library assistant here and is the queen of snark. So Alexa Hill, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What did you think of that title?
I wear it with pride.
I think you've earned it, if we're being honest. I do think you have. When did you start at the library? It was your freshman year, wasn't it?
It was March of 2018. So yeah, March of my freshman year.
A long time. Have you liked the job?
Yeah, well, most of it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, shout out to Eric for making the first year and a half, 2 years, more interesting, more of a challenge.
Okay. All right. Yeah, he's problematic. I agree. Well, speaking of Eric, this is going to be the first time we do a Lonely Hearts book club without him. Do you feel up to sitting in for him?
Yeah, I think I can fill those shoes.
You think you can handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll give it our best shot then. All right. Let's start with the bookmark segment. Have you read anything interesting lately?
I have. A couple of weeks ago, there was a mystery novel that caught my eye. And of course, it was love at first sight with a book that had 20 people in line in front of me.
That's
on the
way it
holds.
goes, yeah.
Right. So it is a book called The Guest List by Lucy Foley.
Oh, okay.
And it has an amazing twist at the end of it, a lot of suspense.
Okay.
You know, there's a big storm in it, kind of Macbeth and feeling. You know, it really caught my eye because, like, I love a good thriller. I love a good whodunit type big plot twist. So.
Is that your go-to genre, like mystery thriller?
Personally, yeah. Okay. I like a lot of classics. Like I like a lot of Agatha Christie.
Oh, okay.
You know, that kind of whodunit.
Sure.
And even movies too. But it was, you know, kind of a marriage with I like a lot of the new fiction. Mm-hmm. So it just really felt like something I'd be into.
Sure. Now, you mostly have been shelving and working in the YA section. Did you read a lot of YA books, or was that not your jam?
Not really my jam. Like,
okay.
I used to read a lot more YA, like, you know, the Percy Jackson and the Harry Potter and, you know, books like that. But I haven't really picked those up since, like, middle school. So.
The olden days.
Yep.
Okay.
I read a lot of classics.
Okay. I read a few things interesting lately. I read one called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. It's a nonfiction. It's a series of essays about this woman just going through sort of a major transition in her life, and it's funny, it's informative, it's cleverly written. It's been a bestseller for quite a while in the nonfiction section, and it seems well deserving of that. So I checked it out mostly because it was popular, and I just didn't know anything about it, and I like to stay up to date.
Sure.
So I've been enjoying that one. I read one called The Autobiography of Catherine Janeway, which is a sci-fi novel by Una McCormick. Really good. It's a fictional character, but it's written, you know, as an autobiography would be written. So all the tropes of that. I was more impressed with how well the author was able to nail the style of an autobiography. I think I appreciated that more than I actually liked the story, but it was just kind of an interesting thing to do. Mm-hmm. I'm finishing up one called Exile Music, which is a historical fiction set in World War II, and starting one called The Silent Weapons by David Mack. Have you been watching anything?
Have I been watching?
Yeah, movies, shows.
Yeah, so talking about a plot twist, I would strongly recommend a movie called Knives Out.
Oh, sure.
For anybody, right?
Yeah,
the top tier of plot twists.
Yeah,
yep.
And very, very much an Agatha Christie style story,
right.
too.
And it has Chris Evans.
It does, yeah.
Yep.
Captain America himself. I think, now Netflix is making some sequels to that, I heard.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be like a 2, 3, and maybe even 4, so I'm looking forward to that.
Once I got over Daniel Craig's accent in that movie, I enjoyed the ride. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. What kind of shows do you like?
I like a lot of sitcoms.
Yeah.
There is a really interesting series on Netflix called Explained, where they do they cover lots of different topics and things, and each episode is dedicated to a subject. Like there's one about the history of diamonds, one about like the wage gap between the sexes.
Sure.
There's one about COVID. So
Okay.
it just kind of covers everything, and I really like that it's a very engaging and thorough show.
Well, that sounds interesting. You said sitcoms. It made me think of one we've been watching called Never Have I Ever, which is a Mindy Kaling. It's also a Netflix thing, but cracks me up. So good, so clever. So that's what we've been watching for the most part right now. Of course, we saw Black Widow, which we talked about in the last episode. Are you into those, like Marvel? No? Not your jam.
Unfortunately, no, I don't fill those shoes of Eric.
Well, yeah, but we have 300 episodes of him talking about Marvel, so I think we'll be all right.
Right.
That's fine. All right, let's move into some book news.
Look into the future to see what it proves. It's time for book news.
See, I didn't think you were going to be a YA fan, so I'm going to look at the combined print and ebook fiction for the week of August 1st. So here's what's topping the charts right now. Number 10, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. A movie icon recounts stories of her loves and career to a struggling magazine writer. This is 3 weeks on the list. I haven't read this one. I read her book Daisy Jones and the Six, which I've talked about a ton. And it sounds like kind of a similar premise. Daisy Jones and the Six is written like an As Told To biography. It's like a series of interviews about a fictional band. And it sounds like this is kind of a similar vibe. So I might pick this up.
Yeah, I keep seeing that recommended to me,
Oh,
and
really?
I've only heard good things about it.
Okay.
So
All right. Number 9, 33 weeks on the list, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is one that I feel like I should read, because it's geared towards libraries, but I haven't
Sure.
yet. Nora Seed finds a library beyond the edge of the universe that contains books with multiple possibilities of the lives one could have lived. It always sounds a little schmaltzy to me.
yeah, like maybe a little too much.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, look at this. Another Taylor Jenkins Reid coming in at number 8, 7 weeks on the list. This is her newest novel. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was a few years back. But this is her brand new novel, Malibu Rising. An epic party has serious outcome for 4 famous siblings. Not a lot of information to go on there.
No, I know a relative of mine is reading this right now, but
okay.
I'm not sure what she thinks of
You
it
don't know.
yet.
No hot takes. All right. Number 7, A Time for Mercy by John Grisham. 18 weeks on the list. Third book in the Jake Brigance series. A 16-year-old is accused of killing a deputy in Clanton, Mississippi in 1990. I have read this. I'm a big John Grisham fan.
Yeah, I'm always surprised by John Grisham because it seems like at some point you've got to run out of murders.
I would
You've
think
got to
so.
run out of
Yeah.
small towns for murders.
I would agree. Yeah, and this one is interesting because it's the third part of. I mean, it wasn't intended to be a trilogy, but it's the second sequel to his very first book that's like decades old at this point. So interesting to go back, and it's set in 1990, which is when the other books came out. So it's sort of retroactively now. This series is historical fiction, I guess. Number 6, 139 weeks on the list, completely unescapable. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Have you read this one?
No, but I feel like I saw book club signups for this
Yes.
like 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was the thing where we wanted to do it for a book club, but we had to wait like a year or so because there were 100 holds on it. You just couldn't
Right.
get it. And this has remained a bestseller all this time. In a quiet town in North Carolina, a young woman who survived alone in the marsh becomes a murder suspect. Not a good description of that book, but it's interesting. I don't know. I've complained about this book a lot, but my hot take was that it's very readable, but it's not a particularly well-written book. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's kind of popcorny in a way.
Right.
Number 5, with 2 weeks on the list, The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. After an extramarital dalliance, ooh, so fancy, Elle must choose between her husband and her childhood love. This is another Reese Witherspoon book club pick.
I love Reese Witherspoon.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I just watched Legally Blonde like 2 days ago.
Wow.
It's a big inspiration for
Okay.
me. So,
All right.
and that caption for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a good plot twist and a good mystery,
Yeah.
but I also love a good who is like Sophie's
Yeah, yeah,
Choice.
yeah.
Like, Twilight.
Yeah, sure, sure. So where does your love of Reese Witherspoon begin? Is it Legally Blonde?
Probably.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good choice. They're doing a third, aren't they?
I don't know. I hope
Hearing
not.
that. I keep hearing that they are, but you hope not?
Yeah, I hope not.
Just
like
leave it
it
as
just
is.
yeah, leave it as is.
Okay.
Every time a new sequel gets added to like really any movie series like that where it was just meant to be the first,
Yeah.
it just kind of goes
Takes
downhill.
away from it. Yeah, that's usually true. Number 4, 10 weeks on the list. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Opposites Poppy and Alex meet to vacation together one more time in hopes of saving their relationship. Any appeal?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. This sounds like a simple read on the beach or on vacation.
It does.
Like,
well, yeah,
it's a book you read on vacation.
It is. I agree. Okay, number 3, new this week. So breaking news, It's Better This Way by Debbie McCumber. Julia Jones begins a new life after discovering her husband's infidelity almost 6 years ago. Number 2, 11 weeks on the list, The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. Hannah Hall discovers truths about her missing husband and bonds with his daughter from a previous relationship. Reese Witherspoon. She's a kingmaker at this point, I guess. Yep. She just decides what popular fiction will be, and so it is. Number 1, new this week, The Cellist by Daniel Silva. The 21st book in the Gabriel Allen series, a private intelligence service plans an act of violence that will aid Russia and divide America. How are you on political intrigue books?
Me, I live it enough. I don't need to read it too.
Yeah, that doesn't really sound like escapist fiction there. So yeah, that's fair. So which of these books, if you were going to pick one of these to read, which one do you think it would be?
I think 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is already on my TBR.
Okay. So hip with the lingo. Okay, that's a good choice. I don't know for me. I keep seeing this, The Last Thing He Told Me, that keeps popping up on lists, or I keep seeing it come back, and I think, like, oh, I want to read that. But I'm maybe a sucker for that kind of cover, so I don't know.
Yeah, you know, with the real wispy script.
The script, yeah, yep. Yeah, and the seascape background. I don't know, it's calling to me, so that might be the one. All right, are you ready to explore a treasure from the stacks?
Absolutely.
All right.
Lonely Hearts Book Club.
So, if you're new to the game here, what we do for the Lonely Hearts Book Club is I run a report and I find a book that's never circulated, or at least it hasn't circulated since the library digitized in 2000. So we know at least 21 years this book has got no action. So typically what Eric and I would do would kind of alternate between adult fiction or YA, and we would go through the book, look at the cover, look at the synopsis, look at everything about it, and decide, are people missing a real gem here, or did they look at it and make the correct call? So I got one today that I was shocked to find, and I feel like it's very appropriate. So Alexa, here is our book for today. Jinny Willams, Library Assistant, a career romance for young moderns. So right away.
Yeah, how have I never checked this out?
I know, right? Give me your hot take on this cover. What do you think?
I don't know. She looks like she's busy. She must be doing things other than being a library assistant, because she's got quite a stack of books in front of her.
So we've got like sort of a blue background, primarily a black and white image of Jinny Willams, though her dress is a bright red. What do you think fashion-wise? How do you?
Me, I love a good bright red. I have a pair of statement red boots, so that's totally me.
Is this? I don't know if this is a charm bracelet or library keys. I can't tell. She's got quite a hair flip going. You know?
Yeah, I like it.
Do you think you could pull this look off?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I don't want to assume. So yes, we have Jinny Willams. She looked like she's having the time of her life at the library. You can see books on Sweden and Norway and Denmark in the background, so she's in the nonfiction section.
Yeah, she must be in the 800s, 900s of the juvenile stacks.
Wow, good pull. So now this looks like kind of a fun retro cover. Like, I feel like I could buy this on a magnet in any pharmacy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I feel like this style has come back a little bit. Let's see when it was originally published. Oh, original cover price, $2.95. Not bad for a hardcover. Original publication date, 1962. That's funny, because this seems like a much more 1950s image. I don't know how hip this would have been in 1962.
Maybe that's why I didn't get checked out.
Could be. It's probably been here since 1962. Now, judging by the pages, I would guess that this probably did check out prior to the year 2000. Wouldn't you say?
It has the signature Sharpie on the top.
Yes, it does. And it's not as tight. Like a book that's never checked out before, it's like you have to wrench it open. This one opens freely. So I think probably in the 60s and 70s this got some play, but not for a couple of decades. Okay, so the back. Oh, wow. It's a whole series. Career romances for young moderns. Do you consider yourself a young modern?
I mean, I did say TBR.
You did. That's true. Any of these titles on the back stand out to you?
Ooh, introducing Patty Lewis, home economist. Is that code for does the home budget?
I think probably.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many. Every one of these just sounds great. Oh, Lady Architect. One is just called Lady Architect.
She doesn't even have a name.
Oh, what about this one?
The vet is a girl, as if that's like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. I like how in parentheses they had to put veterinarian. It's about a veterinarian, in case you thought this was about like a Korean War vet. No, she's a veterinarian. Tours by Terry, also another good one. I don't know, Alexa, you might need to get some of these while you're in between classes.
I don't know. Yeah, this has some pretty good messages. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Women in the workplace. I don't know.
Sure
I can get on board with this.
They're probably all empowered. They probably don't rely on some husband named
I don't know. It is called career romances. So
You're right.
Maybe.
Okay. Would you do the honors and read the synopsis? It's long.
Sure.
Give it your all.
When Jinny Willams began working as a page in the Ranford Public Library, she planned to make library work her career. However, since college was out of the question, she majored in commercial subjects, telling herself being a secretary was also rewarding. Then, after graduation, she was offered the job of junior assistant at the library. This would not give her professional status, but once she learned the complex library procedures, she would be a qualified library assistant. For a girl who loved working with books and people, the situation was ideal.
Sounds like it.
There was much to learn, and it was serious, responsible work.
Do you find that it's a very serious environment?
I don't take it very seriously.
Oh, okay.
No, I get it.
All right.
Jinny loved every minute of it, even the evening hours and occasional Saturdays. But Joe Grant, who was in love with her, resented the inroads on her time.
Really?
And the job itself, which was making her too intellectual, he said,
Uh-oh.
for an ambitious mechanic.
Joe.
Oxymoron.
Oh, my God.
No. Confused and sobered by his attitudes, Jinny wondered what was wrong with liking books and the world they opened up to people with eager minds and a curiosity about everything. But he's in a library.
Sure.
So, Paul Cunningham, whom she met at the library, had that kind of mind.
I sense a triangle.
And she found herself liking the exciting world of theater, music, and books, into which he led her, though she felt guilty about Joe. Suddenly, affairs at the library seemed to mirror the confusion in her heart.
Sure.
She made mistakes and was reprimanded by the supervisor. She quarreled with the reference librarian, and a valuable coin collection was stolen the night she forgot to put it in the safe.
Wowzer.
When she threatened to quit, Joe surprised her by admitting his own pig-headedness and pride in what she was doing. With renewed determination, she concentrated on the many details of her work: clerical duties, cataloging, mending, sorting, assisting where she was needed, volunteering where she might be useful. As a result, she won a deserved promotion.
Wow.
Jinny Willams grew up in her first year as a junior assistant with a greater understanding of her demands of her chosen career and a sure knowledge of her own heart. Well, I can tell you why it never checked out.
Why is that?
It's because it gives the whole story in the synopsis.
I was going to say, you know everything. You know she gets the job and keeps it. I assume she ends up with Joe. Paul was just a little cul-de-sac in there. I don't know.
Paul was that little flirt she had where it's like,
guess.
oh, I guess maybe I can think for myself.
Why,
I can't.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
do? Okay.
I think I might just the Paul pages. I might skip to the Paul pages.
It is written by Sarah A. just the Paul pages. Sarah A. Temkin and Lucy A. Hubble. I looked both of them up, but can't find any more works for them. So I think they just were like, we got it. We got our book, and that's it. They're done.
Not any of these other career.
Maybe their husbands were jealous of the inroads writing took on their time.
Yeah,
do you think? And
right.
They probably
because books were too much of a scandal.
Too much. It's opening her mind way up. It sounds like Sarah Temkin did work at a library, so she's writing from her own experience. I don't know about Lucy Hubble. Doesn't look like she was a librarian. So this was, I guess, a long-running, sort of loosely connected series of career romances for young moderns.
I don't know. Maybe the modern part is that you don't have to read the whole book to
Could
get
be.
the story. You just have to open the cover.
Yeah, that's true. It's a quick bite. It's like flash fiction. Okay, I'm gonna read you dedicated to Helen Scherf Taylor with deep appreciation for her understanding and encouragement when we first proposed writing this book, and to Sarah Radden, who bore with us and gave us many valuable suggestions and criticisms. All right. Oh, here are our table of contents. Here are the chapter headings. See if any of these appeal to you. Career Unlimited, Opening the Desk. That sounds exciting.
There's a whole chapter.
A whole chapter. A Day at the Shore, New Interest, The Play is the Thing, in quotations. One Never Knows, All Kinds of People, A Dance and a Dilemma. Thanks for a Lovely Evening. The End of the Year, Bad Leads to Worse, so that's where things go. That's probably the Paul chapter. The New Director, and Life Goes On. Oh, blah, dee, oh, blah, da. All right, chapter 1. And I want you to listen objectively and just see what you think. Okay.
I'm ready.
You're being objective? Okay. The slim, dark-haired girl on her knees before the low picture book shelves was straightening out the jumbled pile of books that was the result of one determined small boy's search for Horton Hatches and Egg. Well, that's relatable.
That's very relatable, especially the board books.
Working with experienced ease, she moved the books neatly to the shelves, pushed the bookends firmly into place, and stood up. Collecting the gaily decorated little Mexican chairs. What does that mean?
I don't want to comment on that.
That's probably safe. From around the room, she arranged them in front of the low shelves where they belonged. And that was that. She was through for the day. She stopped and surveyed the familiar room, the cheery yellow chintz draperies and gleaming copper bowls of philodendron, each centered neatly on the low windowsills. The same old round oak tables and sturdy chairs for the older children were still in use. Nothing had changed much in the dozen years since she'd proudly taken out a book of her very own card. She smiled, remembering how she had applied for a job, helping the little kids get books. When she was 8 years old, Mrs. Swinnerton, interesting name, the children's librarian, hadn't laughed. Very seriously, she had said, "It would be nice to have you work for us, Jinny, but you'll have to be old enough to get working papers first. When you're 14, the job will be yours." Very serious. Oh, look. We have a full job description. Okay, would you like to read the job description for the junior library assistant?
Sure. Definition. Under direction, performs a variety of library tasks of average difficulty requiring the application of library techniques under the prescribed limits. Organizes assigned clerical and other library work, and develops effective work methods in accordance with the regulations and procedures of the library.
Boilerplate stuff here.
Charges and discharges, books, assists readers in finding books, and in making the most effective use of library facilities, shelves books and other materials, performs clerical tasks, including simple filing, maintains records and files, does related work as required. Requirements. Number 1. Formal education or other education or training showing attainment of the level represented by graduation from high school.
Wow. Well, that was dry. What did you think of that opening? Were you pulled in by that opening?
I don't know. There's a lot of imagery. I think it's going to be somewhat of a feminine approach. I don't know how much it's going to focus on the actual tasks or her as much as these expectations.
Maybe we need to get in this book a little bit. What chapter appeals to you here?
Oh, bad leads to worse.
You want bad leads to worse. Okay, we're going to jump
right to it.
We're going to jump to chapter 11 and see how it goes. Bad leads to worse. The second week in January was the most difficult one Jinny had ever experienced. True, it had been satisfying to have the department heads present her with their year's statistics to be neatly totaled and typed, with such compliments as, "It's so nice to have someone to do this now." Well, that's not really a compliment, though.
No.
They're just saying, "I don't want to do this."
Yep.
So
here you go.
I guess she's taking it as a compliment. Or, "Your business training will certainly come in handy, Jinny." Also not really a compliment. And Mrs. Bender's crisp, "You've been doing the monthly statistics all along, Virginia, so the yearly statistics won't be difficult for you, I'm sure." Now, these three are things she zeroed in on as compliments.
Yeah, no, those are just backhanded compliments. It's like, "I'm really glad you're here so that you can do all of the work."
It's nice to have a grunt work here. Okay, I'm gonna go in a little bit.
It's like when you really don't want to do something, so you tell someone like, "Well, you should do the dishes because you're so good at doing them."
Right. Okay, I'm gonna drive in a little bit more here. I see Jo in the pages here. That same Friday afternoon, as she was processing the new books to get them ready for circulation, Jinny's mind wandered to other things. Pasting in the book pockets and fitting the book jackets into their plastic covers was a mechanical motion for her by now. Working quickly and expertly, she inserted the transparent cover into the Gaylord cover board, fitting the jacket into place. Wow, that's still a thing.
Yeah.
That's still a company that does that. The thought of that had missed the New Year's Eve weekend party at Gail's grandmother's farm still hurt. And what hurt more was the knowledge that Corinne had been with Jo. Enter a vixen. What a miserable New Year's Eve it had been. If she hadn't told Paul that she was going to a party New Year's Eve, he might have asked her for a date. Now she'd never really know. How ironic. 2 boyfriends. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so she's a player.
Bad is meeting worse.
2 boyfriends, and she had to spend New Year's Eve at home with her family. That's the worst. A situation like this would never have happened if she'd been working in an office. Well,
as opposed to a library?
I mean, I think, anyway.
I can't say that I've ever had, like, real melodramatic situations arise because I worked at the library.
Okay. So you never had lost out on juggling 2 boyfriends on New Year's Eve because you had a shift here?
Not that I can say. We're closed on New Year's.
Never happened. That's true. Good point. Why do they open New Year's Eve? That's crazy. Okay. Her Saturdays and evenings would have all been free, or if Mrs. Bender had been more reasonable. The way Gail had acted when she'd come over to tell Jinny about that weekend. She'd been her usual affectionate self, bemoaning the fact that Jinny had been unable to come with them, telling her all about the fun they'd had, but curiously reticent about Joe and Corinne. That could only mean one thing. Joe must have been very attentive to Corinne, or Gail would have been quick enough to say that Joe didn't enjoy himself without her. Much as she wanted to know more about how they had acted together, she couldn't bring herself to ask.
I feel like I'm watching a 1950s version of The Bachelorette.
Huh. Yeah, it could be. I'm just curious
with
about
more books.
The setup of this library really seems like they're taskmasters when it comes to making
I mean, you saw that.
Work holidays.
Yeah, right. That job description was like.
Oh, it was serious.
Yeah,
it was serious. I'm not liking this.
No, I'm not either.
I mean, this cover. The cover's funny. I think if you take the words off,
Mm-hmm.
the cover would be a fun little, like a greeting card.
Yeah, I think so too. And I figured out why they put the whole synopsis on the inside cover.
Yeah,
it's because they knew no one would ever get through all of this.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I just want to know if she ends up with. Oh, look, we have another job description. Senior library assistant. Oh, because we know she gets promoted to senior library assistant.
Right.
That was in the
how
synopsis.
different are the qualifications?
Let's find out.
Or the definition.
Salary $1.25 to $1.85 per hour. 3,700 to 5,000 per year. Not too shabby.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Open to citizens, 12 months residence. I feel like these are real civil service job descriptions. They just copy and pasted it.
Yeah.
But you're going to hear it all. Under general supervision of a professional librarian, does the more difficult, varied, non-professional tasks and assists in supervising library workers, organizes assigned clerical and other library work, and develops effective work methods, personally performs complex, non-professional, they really want to hammer that home,
sure,
library tasks including sorting, filing, and correcting cards, searching catalogs and verifying book order slips, registers borrowers, handles overdue and reserved books, collects and records fines, does simple reference work and descriptive cataloging when required, makes trips with bookmobile, does varied clerical tasks, does related work as required. What do you think?
I think the only difference is that you have to do very difficult non-professional tasks, which in my opinion I think is dealing with the difficult patrons.
Yeah.
I think is what that means.
Yeah. So it looks like somebody just serendipitously left just as she needed a job, and it looks like she's gonna just slot right into the I mean, there's no reason why we don't just read the end of this, right?
No, and there's only 2 pages after that, which means that's the goal is just going up to senior assistant.
All right, here we go. This is the final thing with Joe and Jinny. We are going to full out spoil this book.
Spoilers!
Maybe even more than the synopsis did.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know, this is Joe asking, and do you think you know how you want to settle that? I think it's their whole situation here. Yes, she said simply. This time Joe waited. Would he make her come right out and say it? I think I know what I want now. Paul, he asked in a flat tone. But Jinny sensed an undercurrent of emotion. Her hopes rose. No, Paul doesn't mean a thing to me. I knew that even before he asked me to wait for him. I guess it was always you I loved, but I needed time to make sure. I'm sorry if I hurt you, Joe. Wait, she hurt him? Wasn't he the one who was like, you gotta be my woman and not have...
I think she means, I'm sorry that I entertained other options that respect me.
Well, she's apologized. She's apologized for her humanity. Let's see if he's gentlemanly enough to accept it. Jinny, he said, taking her chin in his hand and looking into the intent blue eyes, so troubled and honest. Would you understand if I said I'm glad you waited? I was wrong to want to rush you into marriage. I was the childish one, not you. If we'd gotten married then, and later you'd found someone like Paul, our marriage wouldn't have been as good as I hope it will be now. I've done some growing up too, and I'll act differently. We'll do the things together that you want. Joe, Jinny admitted in a small voice, I was awfully smug. I'll change too, if you want me to. If you want me to. If you want me to. This is kind of a Grease situation here. You've done enough, he said tenderly. All I wanted to know is that you love me. You do, don't you? Yes, Joe. Oh, yes, she said. He took her in his arms, and there wasn't a bit of doubt left then for either of them. I think we're supposed to assume they kissed.
Yeah.
I think that's too racy for 1962, but I think there was a kiss there at the end. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a pass. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was hooked at the cover, but...
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I think past the inside jacket, it left me disappointed.
You know what? I think this is actually a Gaylord book cover on this book that specifically references a Gaylord book cover.
Oh, kind of like an ad placement?
Yeah, I guess so. Wow. That's really thorough of them. Oh, look. It has a series sticker on it. This is like from us. We would have put career on there at some point. So this was specifically designated a career book. So if you were a teen and you wanted to read a book about careers, that would be the one. Yeah, I think this one belongs in the past. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, well, we tried, but the people of Wellsville have made the correct choice, I'm afraid, in letting this one languish in the juvenile stacks.
Yeah, like I said, I was disappointed because there was a lot of focus on this Joe who didn't want to change her, but did want to change her, but didn't respect her.
Yeah.
But then at the end, he was like, well, no, I was wrong.
Well, it's funny because if you read the synopsis in full, which we did, to me it seems very clear that Joe is the villain of this novel. But then they end up together.
Yeah.
And Paul, who shares all her interests, not a thing.
She's not
never
interested.
wanted him.
Also, can we talk about that lackluster proposal? Like, all of a sudden it was like, like, we're getting married, and it's going to be so good.
This time it will be good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he must have made some marriage overture early on, and she was not into it. That's what I gleaned.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was just like a heavily implied marriage where he was like, "Well, yeah, we're gonna get married.
They're together and they're out of high school, so
if you're gonna change when I want you to, then we're gonna get married."
Yeah. His proposal was like, "The wedding's in 6 months, so you better start changing, sister." Well, I hope she and Joe. I mean, they probably did stay married. That's the thing. They probably did stay married, and she was just unhappy for the next 50 years. Would be my guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jinny Willams. Well, thanks for going on this deep dive into the stacks with me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
I think your experience at the library is probably richer now that you've gone through this book.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything she was discussing job-wise was spot on. Like,
so this is kind of like that Midnight Library book where you find a magical library book that has like a sliding doors alternate life. So we found this book. This could have been your life had you been born in
1950.
1950.
Yeah, making $1.20 an hour and loving every minute of it.
$1.25. Don't be dramatic. So yeah. So luckily you avoided this. You were born at the right time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so this is your last week at the library. Which is sad for all of us.
Bittersweet.
But we had a nice party out of it, so that's...
we did.
That's the way to go.
And as Amanda said, delicious croissants.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. They were very good. Are you going to try to score a sweet library job in college?
I'm hoping.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, there were 100 or so positions open.
That's so many
at the time of this recording at the library.
Yeah.
And now if I don't get one, it's kind of embarrassing.
It is.
Coming into it with experience.
Yeah.
So.
Did any of the descriptions match the ones that we read in Jinny Willams' library assistant?
They were a little bit less demeaning.
Were they? Well.
A little bit more gender neutral.
That's progress for you. Yeah.
You know, less so you're going to be a secretary and you're going to like it.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And there were some respectable wages.
Okay.
So.
Do any of them say that you need your husband's consent to do the job?
Not that I know of.
Not there.
But I haven't really read too in depth yet.
That's for the best. That's for the best. Well, good luck. I hope you continue on in libraries and
thank you.
Tell us your library stories going forward.
Of course.
No, I guess that's it. It's the end of an era.
Yeah.
Is it sad?
It is. Like I said, it's bittersweet because I miss being in the community and there's so much that I'm attached to in this library. Yeah. Like, even Music on the Lawn, like just being here means a lot to me. Yeah. So it's going to be weird going somewhere that everything is new and nothing is familiar. Yeah. So
I started as a not a Jinny Willams library assistant, but just a student library clerk when I was a teenager, and I still have a lot of fond nostalgia for that place. Like I think of it often. So
I think I'm gonna miss the ghost in the children's stacks the most.
Well, he's gonna miss you.
Right.
I think he really will. Yep.
He'll knock a couple books over on my way out.
Yeah, so. Probably. Just you can take him if you want. We'll see. We'll see about it. We'll see how that works out. All right. Well, my thanks to Alexa Hill for being on this episode, but also for 4 years of working in the library. It's been fun having you, and best of luck to you in the future. And listeners, we'll see you all next time.